My students had so much fun making these advanced visualizations when they were working on their data sets. So I'm excited to show you this video today on how you can have your students make advanced visualizations. Let's jump in. Let's talk first about why even create these. Here's an example of one on our little mini computer screen here. Yes, it's prettier to look at and definitely more engaging to readers. Readers love to see things with color and pictures. It's easier to see, right? But it's more than that. It's actually more useful for our analysis. How? Well, as you look at this scatter plot, instead of just seeing uniform color of dots, you see an added variable now. Not only do we see the age and the weeks of the animals, but we could see a species. So we get an extra variable. And we can add even more than one variable to some of our charts based on how we write our functions. Oh, so how are they created? Oh, I gave it away too soon. Yes, we need to write functions, and we have to write functions that consume rows. I just love how Bootstrap scaffolds the lessons, as you've probably noticed in your work with the lessons. And this is another one that is beautifully scaffolded. We go back a little bit in time with the students and take a look at those lookup questions. How did the students look up something in a column to help us scaffold and get towards writing this row consuming function? And remind the students how we looked up the age of an animal in the row. Well, we have a defined dog row here, for example, and we go use the brackets to go grab the age. And then we'll say, well, now what if I wanted to draw an image, a solid blue circle that has the radius that is the size of that dog's age from that dog row that we had defined. And the students will write the code for that, which is here on the right. They do this for a few of the defined rows. I just picked one of those here for our example. Now we want to do this over and over again. If we want the radius to be the size of the age of that animal for every single row, that circle is going to change. As we can see down here, each row is going to be a different size circle. We don't want to have to write the code circle and row over and over again. We want a function that's going to do that. So this is our age dot function that you see here in the center. And you see our examples here, dog row and old row. We'll take in as our example to go get that age and create these circles that we see below. They will be different sizes, which is so cool. Now go grab any row that we give it and grab its age and make that circle so that the radius is the size of its age. Likewise, let's go write another function and we'll call it species tag, but this time we want to grab the species of that row and we want to create an image that will be the name of the species in 15 red. We're going to use the text function and grab the species and make it 15 reds. Here is that function as well. Just go to the row and use the text function, grab the species and make it 15 red. Here's a couple of examples. The students will do this too. They'll go off and put in a few of the defined rows. Here's lizard row. I hope I get lizard. And then the fixed row. What kind of species is the fixed row? Oh, it's a cat. And there we get the name. Okay, so we've defined these special functions. Let's use them now in our displays. Before we do that, let me just synthesize a few things, and you should do this with your students as well. Both of these functions consumed rows. One looked up numbers, and another one looked up strings. So it's really important to see that we didn't just do numbers, and we didn't just do strings, purposely doing both functions to show we looked up two different data types here. Another thing to talk about is that age dot and GT, which they were familiar to writing, green triangle function, they are similar in that they both take in a number and they both produce an image. Right? They produce an image and they make a circle, okay? Or they make a triangle, they produce an image. But they're different in that for age dot, that they need to use a lookup of the row in order to get that number. As GT, we gave it the number directly. So there's the difference in these two functions and how they operate. So have that conversation with your students. All right, let's use those functions. Ooh, this is where the graphs look so cool, and the students get so excited once they see it. We can see on the left that we used age dot, and here's our image scatter plot function. Image scatter plot takes in the name of the table, and then your X and your Y axis, and then this function that you have written. This function has to be row consuming, image producing, which is what we've made both of those functions in the first two slides that we did. And so image producing here, and we can see I have now that third variable showing up on my scatter plot. I have weeks and pounds there, but now I can see the age in comparison to the other animals. I could see my older animals appearing in the larger dots and the younger animals, these teeny tiny dots here as well. Moving on to image scatter plot with my species tag, I could now see the species of the animal appearing on my scatter plot. So where a scatter plot is quantitative, I just now got a categorical variable appearing on my quantitative plot, whereas the first plot on the left gave me three quantitative variables on the same plot. It just now blew up my analysis, giving me an additional piece of information. So cool. Now, there are other image functions. There's image histogram here on the right. Let me start with that one. Image histogram, there's that same thing using species tag, and you can see the species. Isn't that cool? There's your histogram there, and you can see how these species stack up there using the names of the species. I see that lizard sticking there in the middle of those dogs at the top. We also have image bar chart and image pie chart. Let me move my image so you can see image pie chart. And there's same thing. There's some more practical uses for those displays that I will be showing you in the video on piecewise conditional functions that you will see in another video. If you're interested in more uses for those and maybe more practical uses, go to that video. And even for this, the use of the words can get messy. And so what if I wanted to use different color for species or a different shape for species? Go to that other video on piecewise conditional functions and I'll show you that there. But these open up a lot of analysis for the students as well as being very attractive to look at. They're lots of fun. Have fun with them. And by fun, let's go back to that image scatter plot where we blew up our analysis and take a look. What that species tag did for this chart was we could see now that dogs definitely had a major impact on our data set. And as we look at that, we can see without having to just figure out what those uniform blue dots might have been, now it's very clear to us that dogs might be something we want to take a look at. Maybe we want to filter or take a look at each species separately now because that scatter plot tells me my dogs are kind of skewing, at least in the pounds category, some things going off there. So that's where the fun comes in. Now I can see it clearly and ask some different questions.